Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video I just want to go through I've just finished up my tree planting and I've planted in my windbreaks last year, and I just want to explain how they're working on the farm and what the purpose of them is. So I'm standing in the middle of one of our windbreaks here. We've actually got two sets of windbreaks. Our prevailing wind is always coming from the southwest, and we're right on the Atlantic coast here. We've got a little bit of shelter, but we do get strong winds. So what I have here on my left is three rows of willow. On the front here, this is purple willow, which typically grows to about 12 foot. Then in the center is almond leaf willow, and then out on the right here we have got common willow. And these almond leaf and common willow will grow up 30-40 foot high. And then it might be a bit difficult to see, but along here I've got spruce trees. These are Scots pine. Then I've got a row of alder here. Now these alder are pretty close to the existing hedge, maybe a little too close, but I think they'll be fine. And these alder will grow up 40 foot, and eventually they'll take over from this existing hedge, because there's a lot of ash trees in this hedge that may possibly die with ash dieback. But my general plan here is to make a big wedge. So we've got the 10 to 12 foot willow in the front. Then we've got the 30 foot willow, 40 foot willow. These spruce trees will grow up 40, 50, 60 foot, no problem. It'll take them a while. Our alders will grow fast and they'll grow tall. So we're creating this big wedge. So when the wind hits the brake, boom, it's going to go way up. And our fruit trees are in the next field, so it's going to protect them. And I've done the same on the front of this field in front of the polytunnel. And if we can get that wind up into the air, we create shelter for the pasture. We're going to increase our productivity of our grass. Our recovery rate's going to increase, and therefore we can be more productive on the farm. It'll generate nicer ecosystems as well. Now, that's great. The trees block the wind, but we also want to see how can we generate income from these trees. So if we take our willow here, I've selected most varieties that are good for basket making. So now this isn't typically how you'd plant willow if you wanted to coppice them for basket making, but I'm going to let them grow a lot bigger. But there's going to be a chance there I can harvest off some of this willow for basket making, or I've also picked varieties that are good for coppicing for making wood pellets. So I have multifunction out of this hedgerows. Because I've planted 3 rows, my plan is down the line to harvest them 1 row every year, or 1 row maybe every second year. That way there'll be 1 row harvested, there's still 2 rows standing, and we can get some value back out of that. Then with our spruce trees, I have a nice idea that I want to make Christmas trees eventually here. So I can use the willows to make the frame. We can take the greenery off our spruce trees, and eventually they'll be able to harvest these in maybe, I might be gone, but in maybe 40 or 50 years these guys could be harvested for timber. And our alder as well in the background here, they can be harvested for timber eventually as well if we can prune them and grow them straight. In our hedgerow here we've got holly, we've got beech, we've got ash. So there's any amount of species, and we're trying to diversify the species because we will get that edge effect for the ecology, so it'll create loads of habitat. We'll go and we'll take a look at the windbreak on this side of the farm. It's quite similar. There's a few different things I've done. And just to show you our willow, so in the front row here, quite difficult to see, but this is our purple willow. Then we've got our almond leaf willow, and you can see, let me get this to focus, the buds are just coming on nice here. And then we've got our common willow in the back. Now, you can see where I planted these willow last year. So this time last year I planted these. This is all new growth up here. So it's put on maybe 3 foot of growth in places. You look at this guy here, he's gone over. This guy here, he's gone over. I'm 5'7", he's gone up 7 foot, and he would have been this high last year. So really good growth, and willow seems to do really well here. So we'll run over and take a look at the other tree lane, which is right over here. This windbreak is similar. We've got 3 rows of willow. To our left here we've got purple willow, common willow, and then we've got grey willow. The reason why I've put some grey willow in here is because grey willow flowers very early, and that there gives the birds some pollen. so it's good to feed the birds early. The other willow will flower a little later on, and it's just giving a nice feed for the bees early in the year. Then in this row we've got Silka spruce planted here, and so our willows are planted on 1.2 metre centres, and they're 900 mil between the rows and 1.2 metre centres. Then 2 metres out from that is our spruce trees, and they're on 3 metre centres, and then 1.5 metres out from that we've got our alder. And again, this is going to take a few years to develop, but we're trying to make a big branch, and you can see here already we've got a well-established blackthorn hedge, which I believe it was an incentive through one of the agricultural schemes in Ireland in the past to plant blackthorn hedges, so that's really good and it's really established. You can't see now, but there's a robin just resting on the wire here beside us, so it's great habitat for those kind of guys. And of course blackthorn we get sloe berries off, which you could make sloe gin with if you wanted to. This is our alder. You can see some nice buds ready to pop out on that. And then we've got, this is our Silka spruce. I've actually got some Normandy spruce planted in here as well, just to see a bit of diversity. See these guys. And this lane actually goes down to the house here and then cuts across to meet this tree lane here, which is well established. There's sycamore on one side, and then there's spruce trees on the closest side to us. Just one thing I wanted to talk about was winter cover in our pasture. So this is the kind of cover we keep on our pasture for the winter. Now it's very common in where I come from here. Most people keep sheep and cattle. What they do is they house the cattle in the winter time and they let the sheep absolutely overgraze the pasture. So driving along the road, all I see is overgrazed pastures, and it's really detrimental to the springback growth in springtime, because we technically have growth all year round here, albeit very slow in the winter time. Like we can see this grass here was grazed in October, and like the tips are fully, see if we can get it, the tips are fully recovered. Now it isn't expressing itself as a fullness of grass, but you can see here there's no tips that are bit off, so that's grass is recovering. So that's October, that's 120 days regrowth. So if grass is growing and you're grazing the crap out of it, you're overgrazing. It's fine to graze it down to nothing if it's dormant and there's no growth, but definitely now this is some of the better pasture we have. Some of the pastures got hit hard with the chickens, but this one's pretty good shape and there's good cover. So I'm really hoping now when spring growth kicks in, there'll be a massive root reserve there for this just to take off, and it'll mean we'll be able to hit the pastures earlier, and that's the benefit to looking after our pasture. So this time of year is all about planning, and here I am charting out my grazing plan for 2021. And with grazing plans, you're pretty much wrong when you start out, but you have to have a plan, and that's the main thing. So we plan out, I have planned here, I'll zoom in and show you these, but we plan out our broilers, our egg mobiles first, because they're kind of fixed. The egg mobiles are working on a fixed netting every day, so they're in a fixed size. So I plan them out first so you know where they are every day, and then I start to fill in my grazing plan then. Something a bit exciting for me this year, I can't actually fill in my grazing plan yet because I've just taken on a new lease on a piece of land not far from the farm. It's about 3.5 hectares. So I actually got to go out there and assess that land and try and put an estimate on animal days per hectare on it, so I can work that into my grazing plan. So I'll show you a little look here at what we're doing. So the first piece is the key to the whole thing, and you can see here this is my this is the chickens area. So I've on every square represents a one pen for an egg mobile. So this whole triangle down here is for egg mobile 1, This triangle here and this bit here is for Eggmobile 2. And I actually plot out exactly where they're going to be all year long. So you can see at the start of the year in the springtime when growth is slow, we're moving slow, the Eggmobiles, and then as spring kicks in, we start to move faster, and then at the end of the year we start to slow down again. And you can see places like, see here we have to jump, that means that we have to move to avoid broilers most likely I think. And this is our broiler plan. Now it looks a little bit up and down, but that's just because we're moving around in a slightly different pattern to the Eggmobile, so we don't just flow the numbers. The paddocks all correspond really how the Eggmobiles are moving, and so I know exactly where my broilers are going to be at any point in the year. Now, this is based on the information and the data that I've acquired. If, for instance, we get a drought, we get severe wet weather, well, this is all going to change, and you got to constantly change with it. I have for my grazing the sheep, I've already put together what I think will work, but I have to go and assess the new land and work that in here as well, so that because we're grazing our sheep on different ground to the poultry, so I got to do up their grazing plan as well. So it's all planning, and I hope to bring you with me. I'll probably go in the next video and check out that land. This is our grain store, and I've got feed due next week now. I've got to kill 2 birds with the 1 stone here. There's about, I'd say, just under a ton of feed here. That's one of the disadvantages of keeping your feed in a container like this. You got to empty out the feed before you get new feed. Now I typically time it pretty well so that there's only maybe a couple of 100 kilos, but with Brexit and coronavirus, stuff getting delivered is really slow, so I've ordered in my feed beforehand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this out and put it into like a big ton sack. The other thing I got to fix, so I put in, you can see up here I've mounted my pipe, so when I get deliveries they just hook on here, and what that does is it blows the feed into this back corner first, and basically means I can get the maximum amount in. But as you can see, I made a bit of a, when I set this up, I kind of cut a corner. That's an insulated panel in the back, and when the feed got blowing out of this pipe, it just absolutely blew that up. So I got to take out the feed, got to take off these 2 insulated panels. I'm going to replace them with 2 timber sheets with ply, and then that'll be that all sorted. So I got to get this emptied out and then rip down these sheets and put into wooden sheets. And I didn't have enough room for all the grain, so I just left that bit there. I'll use that over the next couple of days. Well, I've got the sheeting off, so that's probably going to be it for this project. I got to go to the hardware, pick up some sheeting. It's getting a bit late, so I'll get this finished tomorrow. Now this probably won't make the end of this video. You'll probably see me finishing this in the next video. Our trainings, our online Eggmobile automation training has been quite popular, and just a quick note to guys that if you're thinking of doing the training, it's better to sign up because you got to go through the components list that you need to order, and it can take quite some time to get those components, up to like 5 or 6 weeks. So if you're thinking of doing it, you better get on there, get your parts ordered, and then get them installed, because if you're planning to get them into your Eggmobile for springtime, you're not going to find till spring comes around and your chickens are going to be there. Now you can, I have in the past retrofitted my Eggmobile with the birds there. Can be a little bit annoying to have some birds coming and helping you, but it's totally doable as well. But if you want to do it before you put your birds in the Eggmobile, I recommend to get signed up and then get your parts ordered. The training has 4 parts. We look at an overview, then we look at detailed part of the components, then we do a step-by-step build of the control box, and the last part is an installation. Then we also include a whole parts list. This is a look at a detailed view at the charge controller, and we go through all the settings and what you should be setting your controller up at. We do this with all the components, and this is an example of a diagram of how I explain some of the wiring concepts. And again, we do step by step, so everything is built. You work along with me, and it's super easy, guys. It's like building Legos. And here we're looking at the pretty much finished unit, and this is what it all looks like when it's done. And I then do the install, and I take you through how I've installed in my Eggmobile. Everyone's will probably be slightly different, and this is what it can do for you. And automatically opening our doors and our nest boxes.